Welcome to SPK Speak Sports. On our station, we talk about baseball and sports news, from the most recent stories to the throwbacks. Listen now to Scott, Paul, and Kelly on SPK Speak Sports as they hit the ball out of the park.
You hit the ball out of the park, Speak Sports.
Hello, welcome to Studio 4 once again. My name is Bartholomew Winston, but my friends call me Scott.
I'm Paul.
I'm Kelly.
And we are SPK Speak Sports, brought to you today by, this is probably the last time because this is all I got, Mutton Buster Beer. I got a great slogan for them for winter. Okay, when it gets to be winter here in Idaho, Mutton Buster Beer, get your mitten
on a mutton.
On a mutton. There you go. Okay, Paul.
Well, I am so glad that we don't have 16 teams to keep up with anymore. We're down to 8, and Major League Baseball, the gods of Major League Baseball, have done us a real favor. For me, it's hard to remember who's in and who's out. So I came up with this. Marlins, Braves, Yankees, Rays, Padres, Dodgers, Astros, A's. How's that?
Oh, wow.
It works.
Yay, team!
Hey,
So-
hey.
Hello!
If you'll recall,
Oh, I
my
like that.
assignment, and you guys probably didn't even do your assignment.
No.
But my assignment was to follow the National League Central and the American League West. Well, in the NL Central Wild Card Series, Chicago, gone. Cincinnati, gone. St. Louis, gone. Milwaukee, gone. There's a theme there, guys.
They're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. And I had the AL West, and Oakland and Houston are amazingly playing each other for the divisional series. The A's will beat the Asterisks. I have no doubt about that. The White Sox gave the A's a better lineup, a better tune-up, I think, than the Twins gave Houston. And the A's pen is just stellar. But guys, does any part of you kind of want the Stros, the cheaters, to win, to advance, so that maybe there can be some retribution from either the Yankees or the Dodgers down the road?
No, I want them gone after
Yes,
this.
so do I.
Yeah, I that's the only team that I rooted against. I didn't root for anybody or root against, but the Astros, I don't want them in there.
So they and the trash cans can just...
Yeah,
No,
keep the trash cans out of the area,
exactly.
To the curb.
to the curb. Kick it to
Well,
the curb.
here's something from CC Sabathia. You know, guys, this is amazing. This is also a phone. It's incredible. I don't know how they do this.
Scott, you're a
So
techie.
here's CC Sabathia on his R2C2, get it? C2
Yeah.
podcast, talking about, he just tore into Carlos Correa. Continuing because the Astros and Correa are continuing to act as though Houston is the real victim in the cheating thing. And Sabathia says they cheated and then they're mad at us. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's a joke. And then you finish under 500 this year. Like, shut up. Shut the F up. The kid's a clown, man. I'm sorry. And then he says, as for Correa bragging about winning a playoff series on the road against the Twins, he says, you all beat a team that's lost 18 straight effing playoff games. And then to finish it off, he says he's a little conflicted, though, because Dusty Baker is like a big uncle to him. But then he comes back with, that's my guy, Dusty. But man, them dudes.
Good for
So
you, CC.
I think if that was a term paper and I was his instructor, I think I'd get that term paper an F.
I mean, when we started this whole thing, did you think that they would get to the final, play 60 games and they wouldn't be shut down completely,
I was rooting more for humiliation, but, they were under 500.
You got to give them credit for being where they are now, under 500 or whatever.
Yeah.
They lost Cole to the Yankees. They lose Verlander. So the fact that, unusual conditions and everything, but I don't think too many of us are over that yet.
No.
Nobody's had a chance to go to the ballpark
Exactly. Right.
and get their booze out. And somebody said that what they should have done at one of the ballparks they had to be playing at as visitors, they should have had Mike Fiers pictures all over as cardboard cutouts, the guy who blew the whistle on them who was on the team in 17. But, so Grace, you did what you did, but just like Cece would say, shut up.
Do you
And just do what you can and then go home.
do you think if they would have had a
But if they win, this is what you're getting this time.
That's right.
So, do you think that they it's like as if they, I don't know, the Astros are.
Well, do you think after next year and the fans do have a chance to get it out of their system, do you think the year after the Astros will achieve some normalcy with fans, or
No.
do you think this is long term?
Hey, Doug Edding screwed the Angels with a call umpire, and
He
those
still-
fans,
still
that's an
boo 'em.
umpire
Yeah.
who most people don't know their names, and when
Yeah.
he'd be introduced along with the other 3 umpires, Angels fans would boo him, and that's been how many years ago?
Duh.
12, 14?
Yeah.
Something like that. So,
But
no.
do you think it's because the baseball didn't really give them a penalty?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, do you think that's part of the other fans kind of upset about it?
I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
They didn't get penalized what they should have,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't, and then the owners, what did the owners say in that press conference? Something like, it wasn't a real apology.
Pablum, drivel. I think they should bring the commissioner out to every game so that the fans can boo the commissioner, and then we
Yeah.
can get it out that way.
Well, let
Doc-
me ask you one more thing before we move on. Now, the Detroit Tigers need a manager. And I read where they're looking at both Hinch, who was the Houston, and Cora. So how do you feel, do you feel like a year suspension is good enough, or?
For me, I think so. Cora's going to go back to the Red Sox, I think, because they love him. I
Really?
think they love him, and I would be surprised. And if he doesn't, maybe he'll go to the Tigers, But
Okay.
I don't know. What do you feel, Paul?
I think it's a 60-game suspension so far. I think
that's
they should
true.
have to do another 162.
Really? And the general manager, Jeff Luth now is.
Well, I guess
There's
you'd say
two.
the same thing.
There's two
60
openings.
game.
There's 2 openings for Philadelphia, and the Angels need a GM. I don't know. He's pretty good though.
Dodgers over San Diego, unless Clevenger can come back. I heard he might be able to pitch. That was something with the Padres winning that last game against St. Louis, pitching 9 guys, the only time that 9 pitchers have pitched a shutout since 1901. I mean, that was amazing. And they had to do it. I think there's way too many relief pitchers. Was it the Indians and the Yankees that had like 17 pitchers in one of their games? And the Yankee game ended at like 1:30 in the morning, East Coast time. I think there was a rain
There had
delay.
been a rain delay.
Yeah.
That's just atrocious.
Yeah.
But LA over the San Diego, Atlanta over Miami. Great story in Miami. I think they've gone as far as they can. The Yankees over Tampa Bay. You always say good pitching beats good hitting. I just think with New York having Tanaka and Cole, and Cole can, I think, come back with 3 days rest if needed. Oakland's going to beat Houston, hopefully. My American League MVP is Abreu with the White Sox. Cy Young winner. I guess it's Bieber, but then I saw something where 4 of his victories were against either the Pirates, the Tigers, or the Royals. So, but I think you still got to win. NL MVP, I think it's Freeman with Atlanta or Marcell Ozuna. Not Acuna, but Ozuna. He was great. Cy Youngs, I think, are going to be Darvish. And I think Darvish will also win the Comeback Player of the Year award in the National League. I don't know about the American League. But those are my predictions for that. Surprise teams, I think you got to go with the Cardinals for what they had to make up game-wise. And Miami, still in it. In the American League, I think Tampa Bay, that they were that good all season long. And Toronto, I think, was also a surprise. So that's some of the people and teams for me.
I say the Yankees over Tampa, Houston over Oakland. Not that I want it, but they're getting hot now, so that scares me a little bit. And Atlanta over Miami and the Dodgers over San Diego. I think that's going to be a really good series because that's like playing your brother down the, their little brothers down the I-5 south. And so that could get pretty That might have some tension in
That
it.
should be tense. So
Yeah.
should Tampa Bay and the Yankees.
Yeah, and then I agree with you on the MVP with Abreu, and I went with Freddie Freeman in the National League. I took Bieber for Cy Young in the American League and Trevor Bauer for Cincinnati in the National League. So those are my picks.
Yeah. Paul?
Well, I'm with you. Took the Yankees or the Rays?
Yankees.
Yankees, and you took the Yankees. All right, so I'll take the Rays. And other than that, yeah, I think the Dodgers will beat the Padres. Kelly, I just don't think the Astros are going to prevail. A's over the Astros. And I'll take the Braves over the Marlins, although I'm rooting for the Marlins. MVP, I'm taking Ozuna over Freeman. Although, when you have the same team, two guys on the same team, it's tough. I mean, you're going to see the same thing. It's like every team that has a viable MVP candidate has somebody else who could take votes away from him.
Well, they've got 3 guys there with Freeman and Acuna. But
Yeah. For AL MVP, I also have Abreu. National League Cy Young, I went back and forth from Darvish to Max Fried, and I think I finally settled back into Darvish. He meant a lot to the Cubs. And AL Cy Young, Shane Bieber.
Yeah. And I think the Reds were a surprise team, even though they,
one last thing with the Cy Young, I delved into this just a little bit more. So Darvish had, and to say 8 wins, I mean, you can't really equate it, 60 games, but whatever. He had the most wins. But 8 of those games that he pitched in, he gave up 0 or 1 run. He gave up 3 runs 3 times, and 1 time he gave up 4 runs. Max Fried is another guy that could slip in there. He had 7 wins. He didn't lose a game. He had 3 times he gave up 1 run, 2 times he gave up 2 runs, and he gave up 3 runs once. He gave up 2 runs twice, and he gave up 0 or 1 run 7 times. And he didn't lose a game. And then Kershaw, 6-2 with a 2.16 ERA. 8 times he gave up 0 or 1 run. 2 times he gave up 3 runs. So I think the Darvish was just, so consistent all year. But again, Max Fried didn't lose a game, and Kershaw. So I don't know. It could be either of those.
Fried and Kershaw had really good hitters. Darvish did not.
That's true all year.
But Fried and Kershaw didn't. They pitched less innings.
They did.
Yeah,
right.
so these other guys are pitching 70 innings, and I think they were in the 50s.
I think Fried's 7-0 looks pretty good, though. Anytime somebody has a virginal record, on the losses.
They're all good. They all had good years.
They did.
So.
And as far as like say LeMahieu with the Yankees is the first guy ever to win the batting championship. You can't. It's just like Voit hitting 22 home runs and being up there with DiMaggio and Mantle and Ruth as a Yankee but you can't really equate it. As far as a game, though, like Will Myers and Tatis Jr. up there with Ruth and Gehrig, the only teammates that have ever hit 2 home runs each in a postseason game, that's pretty impressive.
And Hosmer and Myers, they've elevated their game with Tatis in there and Machado.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of struggled in their careers there at San Diego, but they've elevated it. That team is on a roll.
Too much of a roll.
Well, we lost some significant baseball people this week.
We did.
Once again, and the most prominent, we'll mention the others too, was Bob Gibson. You guys have any thoughts? Did you hear anything? I got a few stories that I heard from Bob Costas over the last couple of days.
When I think of Bob Gibson, I think of 1968. I think of my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Koth, who allowed us, those of us who brought transistor radios, to listen in class.
Yeah.
And, most teachers made the kids hide the transistor. And they pretended not to see them.
Yeah.
But, so what a year that was. I mean, he was just amazing. He was brilliant his whole
I
career.
liked when he would tell if a guy would come to the mound, like the shortstop, or he'd tell him, get back there, you know, or the manager. Or
He
something.
did
He
to
didn't say
McCarver
it quite
too.
that cleanly.
His
either.
catcher.
Yeah.
Get back there.
Back there. I know what I'm doing. You know?
Well, he had such an explosive. I mean, he was like a snake coming at
Yeah.
you. This is him. And the reason I put these 3 guys on here today is from 19 when he became Bob Gibson, which was 61. He came up to the league at 59, but it took him until 61 to get it kind of figured out. But from 61 to 75, Nolan Ryan started about 68. Now he takes over and gets into the 90s, and from the 90s to 2009 is Pedro Martinez. So from 61 to 2009, almost 50 years, these guys, if it was the Old West, would be termed gunslingers.
That's right.
I mean, they weren't afraid to brush you back, throw under your chin, to retaliate with a teammate who got hit. You didn't mess with these guys. And Bob Gibson in that year, in 68, and that's the year that the next year they lower the mound.
Yeah.
What was it, 16 to 10 inches?
16 to 10.
And because of the dominance of the pitching.
Yeah.
And his record that year was phenomenal. He's 22-9 with a 1.12 ERA. So the first question is, how did you lose 9 games
Right.
with a 1.12? And you're on a good team.
Yeah.
Because they get to the World Series.
Yes.
He started 34 games. He completed 28 of them with 13 shutouts. And it's just...
I don't think there's that many in all of baseball at the end of the
No.
year
Oh, no.
now, you know?
And not once did his manager come out to take him out of any games. He did come out of a game,
Yeah.
like late in the game for a pinch hitter, but not once did his manager
Pull him.
come out to pull him. And I just, that season, though, I mean, I was looking at some of the games he lost. He lost 3 games, 3-2. 2 times he lost 1-0. He lost 2-0. He lost 3-1. He could have easily been like 26-5. You know,
Yeah.
unbelievable. And I just want to mention that along with Dean Chance, who in '64 had another one of those unbelievable seasons. He was with an average team, the Angels, in '64. They were 82-80, but he was 20-9. He pitched in 46 games, 35 of them starts. 7 he finished games that weren't save opportunities, and he had 4 saves, 11 shutouts, 15 complete games, and he lost a few games. Again, how did you lose 9 games? Yeah. Well, you were with a team that didn't hit very well.
Right.
So those 2 guys, I mean, arguably, those 2 seasons are some of the best ever. They weren't from 1922 or anything like that. They were from the 60s.
And they won the Cy Youngs that year, didn't
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I don't think in '68 it was just one winner,
No,
but
it
in
was
'64 it was.
Yeah.
It was just one.
Yeah.
But that was also the year that '68 where Drysdale had the consecutive scoreless inning streak. Denny McClain wins 31. The batting average for all teams was .237. So let's lower the mound. So I don't know what you do now, though, with everybody either striking out or walking or hitting a home run. But a couple of stories that Bob Costas told the other day about Gibson. So he's with the Cardinals early in his career, and Bill White's one of his teammates. Bill White became the president of the American League, right? He was with the Giants before that, so he teammate with Willie Mays. They're in San Francisco to play a day game, and before the game, Willie says, "Hey, you want to come over for dinner after?" He says, "Yeah, can I bring Gibson?" And Willie says, in his high voice, "Sure." And so he comes over, and Gibson's behind White, and he's wearing glasses. And Willie says, "You're wearing glasses? You're going to kill somebody." It's like you can't see on the mound, and you're throwing like you're throwing. And then the other story is the last pitch he threw. Prior to that, 1964, the last game of the World Series, 7th game of the World Series. Cardinals are leading 7-3 over the Yankees. Johnny Keane goes out, tells him to go out in the 9th inning. He's just throwing it over the plate. They're not going to hit a couple of home runs off you or anything. First 2 batters, home run, home run. So he's looking in the dugout. Johnny Keane's taking a drink out of the drinking fountain. And so he's got Bobby Richardson coming up next with 13 hits in the series, then Maris, then Mantle. and he gets the 3 outs, and they win. And they asked Johnny Keane later, the manager, why didn't you take him out? And he said, I had a commitment to his heart, which I just think is great. I had a commitment to his heart. So fast forward 11 years, and he's now the last year of he's not doing well. He's 40 years old, 1975. Red Schoendienst is the manager, who was one of the coaches in '64. And the last pitch that Bob Gibson throws is a grand slam home run to Pete Lecoq, who was Pete Marshall's stepson,
Hollywood
I believe.
Squares.
Otherwise, why wouldn't you change your name to Marshall? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the last pitch that Gibson pitches is a grand slammer to Pete Lecoq, and Schoendienst he wants him to finish the inning so he can leave under his own power and dignity and everything, but he's got to take him out now. The game's out of control. And 10 years later, there's an old-timers game at Wrigley Field, and Gibson's on the mound. Pete Lecoq comes up. First pitch, he drills him.
Oh,
And later, Costas asked him, he said, Jimmy, what's up with that? And he says, Robert, sooner or later, the scales must be balanced, no matter how long it takes. And then in 2016, Costas sees Pete Lecoq at, I guess, a restaurant called Gibby's in Chicago during the World Series. And he said, Pete Lecoq, just consider that a badge of honor. That Bob Gibson, the great Bob Gibson, would think enough of Pete Lecoq, who was just a marginal ball player for a year, would think enough of him to hit him 10 years later because of what he did on the last pitch he ever threw. So anyway, but what a great competitor.
He's a great pitcher.
Yeah.
We also lost Sweet Lou Johnson this week.
Yeah.
My only recollection, honestly, of him was a home run in the '65 series. After he'd been brought up to replace Tommy Davis, who'd broken his ankle, and but he was a major leaguer.
Yeah,
and they called him Sweet Lou.
Yeah, he was. He gave you a lot of energy. I think that's why they called him Sweet Lou. He's always clapping and everything. I think of him as one of the original Angels. Yeah. When you say original Angel, it could be anybody that played in the '61 season, but not necessarily in the first game. He played in the first game, his only game with the Angels. He went in about the 7th or 8th inning in left field for defensive purposes for Bob Cerv. And then they had a couple of rainouts after that. During that time, they traded him to Toronto for Daddy Wags, Leon Wagner. So then he ended his career, Sweet Lou did, in '69 with the Angels a little bit. But that's a pretty good trivia question. A guy who never batted, was an original Angel, and they got Leon Wagner for him. And then we lost Ron Perinoski, who was excellent relief pitcher the '60s, and then I think more so with other teams in the '70s, Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, and a great pitching coach.
Yeah,
great pitching coach. Yeah.
And then we lost one actually the night before last week's show, and this is a very personal one. He wasn't. On the level of a Bob Gibson, but he did have a 20-year major league career. Jay Johnstone. For me, it's real personal. I grew up practically a neighbor. He was always in the consciousness of our community in West Covina, California. My oldest brother was a classmate of Jay's at Edgewood High School. My sister worked with him at the Broadway during the off seasons when he was playing for the Angels. I even bought a car from a car dealership that he was a part owner of. He was just a presence in our community. My brother knew him pretty well, and they kept in touch through the years. And he texted me after finding out that Jay died, and he just said, Jay was very well liked. A genuine good guy who was never too preoccupied to smile and say hello to the homeliest girl or the nerdiest guy. How could the kids not remember such sincerity? I have told him so. He appreciatively said his mom drilled that habit into him. Jay, R.I.P. He didn't parade it around, but did you know that he was a Marine Reserve?
Yeah, I do now. I didn't until the other day. Yeah, and then I think you said coincidentally, he passed away just about the same time the lights went out at Dodger Stadium.
A couple minutes before.
A couple minutes later.
Prankster.
Talking about the prankster. Speaking about the prankster, probably 3 of the things maybe most noted for. He and Jerry Royce dressed up as the grounds crew guys and dragged the infield in the middle of the game and came back to the dugout. Lasorda's fuming, and they go back to changing their Dodger uniforms in the locker room, and they come out. Lasorda finds Johnstone, and he doesn't want him to get too comfortable being back in the dugout. He says, get out there and pinch hit, and he hits a home run. He went into the stands before the game and to get a hot dog one time in uniform. He and Royce went into Lasorda's room in the locker room, took down all the Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin celebrity pictures and put up nothing but pictures of Johnstone, Royce, and Don Stanhouse. Yeah. So he's a guy that you needed in July and August and September.
Keep it loose.
If you were 20 games back or you were in the midst of a pennant race, So quite a guy. And
I had the pleasure of getting to throw batting practice to him a couple of times when I was in high school, because I played for the same high school that he had, but a number of years later. And he would come out to work out before spring training. But Jay was a real advocate of hitting off of batting tees. And I'll just want one more kind of prankster story. One day he was on the San Bernardino Freeway east of Los Angeles, heading westbound from Palm Springs. And there was tremendous traffic. And apparently, or so he said, he pulled off the freeway, opened his trunk, got a bag of balls, got his tee, went over to the fence off the shoulder of the freeway, and started hitting balls into the fence. People must have thought he was crazy, and when Highway Patrol rolled up, he said, I got to get my cuts in. So that's just the kind of things he would do.
Before we finish here, because we're getting short on time, I got to give the answers to the trivia questions, so I want to throw it open to you guys first. Top 5 most career home runs amongst hitters to play for only one team. So give me guesses that you...
The one that came to mind immediately last week was Mantle. And then I thought Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks.
Those are 2 correct.
Okay. I don't want to jump in because I didn't cheat, but because of other things I was doing this week, I stumbled across
in other words, he looked.
Another one. No. It was just kind of memory jogging kind of thing.
Well, I was the other night, I laid down, and I thought, the trivia question. I started going over, and I looked, I'm thinking, okay, Yankees. Okay, so I came up with, let's see, I came up with Mantle.
Yeah.
Eddie Matthews.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Because he didn't always play for the Braves. He played for Houston and
Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought Lou Gehrig.
No, he's not one of the. He's played for one team, but he's not in the top 5.
Oh, top 5. Okay.
Yeah. These are all guys that hit over 500 home runs.
Okay, and then I was thinking of Harmon Killebrew, but I think he played with somebody at the
Kansas City.
Okay, so that ends him. And then I had Jim Rice, but I don't know because I was going by.
I was going back and forth with my brother about 4 home run games, guys who had 4 home runs, and one of the guys was Mike Schmidt, and so I thought, he's one of them.
That's right.
Okay.
I think we're going to run out of time, so let me give you number 1, Michael Jack Schmidt, 548. Mantle number 2 at 536. Ted Williams, 521. Wow. Banks at 512, and number 5 is Mel Ott, 511. Okay, top 3 career wins among pitchers to pitch for only one franchise. Real quick.
I'll say Whitey Ford.
He's in there, yeah.
I'll say Jim Palmer.
He's in there.
And Bob Gibson.
That's, yeah. Anybody else you got?
Is it top 5? My brother guessed Warren Spahn.
No, because he ended with the Mets.
Oh, okay.
Bill Negro? No.
So number 1, the big train, Walter Johnson, 417. Jim Palmer was number 2, way down to 268. Bob Feller, 266. The reason I said top 3, the next 2 guys, Ted Lyons and Red Farber with the White Sox. Of course. Carl Hubble was number 6. Gibson was 7. Ford was 8. Drysdale 9 at 209 wins. And Bob Lemon at 207.
All right.
Okay, we're wrapping up. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, Sports Center. It's not coming up next.
You hit the ball out of the park. Speak Sports.